tonight, the Missouri Tigers are in Columbia, South Carolina. I am Gabe DeArmond here with you live on PowerMizzou.com's YouTube channel, and by all accounts, barring a last-minute change of heart from one of the teams, Florida State style, we are going to have SEC football today between Missouri and South Carolina. Kickoff at 6:30. Actually about 6:39, which is an hour and 50 minutes away from right now. So we will lead you guys up to that game. This is the Burger Smokehouse at-home tailgate. We're going to be with you for an hour and a half or so pregame. As always, hey, I'm doing this, solo. If there are issues with audio, if anything's going on that you guys need improved, just let me know. We'll get that taken care of. No problem. Or, maybe no problem. We'll do our best is my point. So appreciate you guys joining us. Understand I am quiet, so we're going to see if we can fix that. Hopefully that's a little bit better. For some reason, the audio levels seem a little bit low today, but we'll take care of that. Don't worry. Anyway, Missouri and South Carolina in about an hour and 50 minutes from now. So we're going to be up with you probably till about half hour before kickoff, 20 minutes before kickoff. We're going to take a quick break. Mitchell Forty will join me toward the end of this show. And then after that, like I said, we'll take a break. We'll be back. We'll do the watch along with you guys on the call presented by Colin Gentry. And we'll hang out with you throughout the game. Mitchell will leave midway through the fourth quarter. He'll get started on post-game stuff. I'll jump on Eli Drinkwitz's Zoom call, then come back and take your calls on our post-game show. So it is 4:49 right now, and we are just going to hang out until whenever we're done tonight. The last time I covered a game in person in South Carolina, there were like 19 weather delays, and the game ended up taking 4.5 hours. Hopefully we don't go through that tonight. Hopefully we just have what we haven't had in 21 days, which is a college football game. Look, we've talked a lot about it this week in this season, and I know it's not what we all want to talk about, right? We don't want to deal with – we just want to go have football games and deal with that. But that's not the case this year. It is a weird season. Weird things are happening every week, and Missouri has now not played in 21 days. Today marks their third game in exactly 42 days, just their sixth game of the season. There's a team out there, I think Texas State has already played 10, might be playing number 11 today. Utah is about to kick off its first game of the season, so it's a weird year. But there are games. As far as what this game is going to be for Missouri, I was told this morning that the thought was the travel party was 54 scholarship players for Missouri. Now, there are other players. That doesn't include walk-ons, and some walk-ons are certainly going to play in this game. So, Missouri's got more than 54 guys available, but they've got fewer than 54 scholarship guys available. Dave Matter, who covers Missouri for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and is in Columbia, tweeted a few minutes ago that Kobe Whiteside is on the trip. He's on the field walking around. Now, we don't really expect Kobe Whiteside to play today, but he's there. Larry Borum and Xavier Delgado were guys that Eli Drinkwitz said, could maybe play in an emergency, but he listed them as questionable to doubtful for the game. We think those guys might be counting toward that 54. So obviously Missouri's below the 53-man guideline is what we're going to call it, because it's not a rule that you have to have 53 to play, which Mississippi State is proving. They took 49 to Georgia today. So the SEC is doing what it can to get games in. Teams in the SEC are doing what they can to get games in. On the same day that Florida State and Clemson was postponed 3 hours before kickoff because, according to reports, Clemson had a reserve offensive lineman that made the trip, and then they found out after the team landed, his test from Friday was a positive result. So Florida State said, we don't know who else might be infected. We don't know what might happen to our team. We don't want to play. They didn't play today. Rescheduled, I believe, for December 12th if things work out. So that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with this season. It's a weird deal. Appreciate all you guys being here. We're going to definitely take your comments, your questions. We're going to let you hear from Connor Bazelak later in this show. I talked to Chris Clark, who covers South Carolina for GamecocksCentral.com. That's the South Carolina site on the Rivals Network. We talked to him some about the team, about all the issues going on with the Gamecocks, about their coaching search. Yes, we're, 5 minutes into this thing. Oh, by the way, Will Muschamp isn't coaching South Carolina. Mike Bobo, formerly was at Georgia, then was the head coach at Colorado State, now is the offensive coordinator for South Carolina. He's coaching the Gamecocks today. It's a different team than Will Muschamp was coaching because 3/4 of the starting secondary opted out. R.J. Roderick opted out. He's a starting safety. J.C. Horn, who's a cornerback and a first or second round projected NFL draft pick, opted out. And their other starting cornerback, who, I'll be honest, guys, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. I don't know what it is, but I can't pronounce it. But he opted out too. So 3 of South Carolina's starting 4 defensive backs have opted out. Before this game, they had a freshman defensive tackle opt out. He hadn't played this year, so that's less of a big deal. Missouri's up against the scholarship limit. Tigers are favored by 6. They opened favored by 1 after the Muschamp deal. They jumped to a 6-point favorite. So who knows? I mean, I don't expect to see a game where South Carolina comes out super inspired to play for an interim coach. But, hey, I've been surprised before. You never know what's going to happen. Maybe the leftover guys really do play well. Missouri's been off for 3 weeks. You might think that leads to some rust, but Florida was off for 3 weeks before Missouri played Florida, and Florida had a little rust for about a quarter and a half, but ended up playing pretty well. Power 5 teams that have been off for 3 weeks this year, 5-2 coming off of that. So maybe they're rested. I don't know what to expect. So we're gonna get to some of your guys' questions, comments, and feel free, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comments, questions, whatever you got. This thing works much better when you guys are a part of it. The call-in show, obviously, we're talking to you here. We do it all just with the comments and stuff like that. But if you've got some comments and questions, shoot them here. We're gonna open just kind of looking at what you guys want to talk about, and then, like I said, we'll get into some interviews, talk a little bit about the rest of the SEC and all that. And that's actually where we'll probably start, is talk about what's already happened in the SEC. Ed asked what I thought of the Arkansas LSU game. I watched the early part of that and the end of that. I did not catch the middle, which seemed unfortunate for Arkansas. Arkansas, every game other than the Florida game seems to be pretty close. I mean, they're clearly a much better team than they were last year. I don't even think there's absolutely no way to debate that fact. I mean, Arkansas is a lot better than they were a year ago. They lost, 27-24 was the final. LSU went on a game-winning drive with 4-ish minutes left. Arkansas couldn't come back down and score. There were a couple of very questionable calls that went against Arkansas early in that game. That seems to kind of have been the situation for Arkansas all season long, to be quite honest. The Auburn game was lost on what was a bad call. There was another game lost on a very close call, I believe. So that kind of seems to have followed Arkansas around this year. They're going to come into Columbia next week at 3-4, 2 straight losses for Arkansas. But again, every game's been close. They've played much better this season. I would expect Missouri's going to have a dogfight. If Missouri plays well and wins today, Missouri could be like a field goal type favorite. I expect that to be a very much a pick'em type game. LSU isn't very good this year, to be honest, but they did get a win, so that counts. Vandy actually put up a pretty decent fight against Florida for about a half. Florida won that one 38-17. Kyle Trask, more touchdown passes through 7 games than Joe Burrow had last year, definitely in the Heisman Trophy conversation. Kentucky kind of tried for a little while against Alabama and did a few good things, but now is trailing 28-3 in the third quarter. That surprises no one. Devontae Smith set the SEC record for touchdown receptions. Najee Harris is the first Alabama running back with 16 touchdowns through 7 games. Alabama's rolling on. They're going to be, 7-0 after this one. So that's what's happened in the SEC so far. Later on tonight, right before Missouri and South Carolina start, Tennessee and Auburn get going. That's actually maybe the most interesting game of the day in the league. Mississippi State's at Georgia. That should be a dog. No pun intended, but Mississippi State, even if they had all of their players, probably not putting up much of a fight at Georgia. Definitely not going to do it with 49. So that's a look around the league, and I figured we'd get here. In fact, I almost started the show discussing this. I know you're supposed to be objective, but surely Nebraska's season so far must make you crack a smile, right? Couple things that I've enjoyed about this. First of all, I enjoyed the official Illinois Athletics Department Twitter tweeting, "Good game today, Nebraska. Thank you for saving Big Ten football," or something along those lines. Well done. I am here for all the official athletic department shade on Twitter. Enjoy that part of it. Look, I think it is phenomenal that this is a season that Scott Frost begged to play, that Nebraska threatened to leave the Big 12 if it wasn't, or Big 10 for the Big 12 maybe, if it wasn't played. And they got run off their home field by Illinois. And Illinois is not good, guys. I mean, they might be a little better than they were last year, but that's not a good football team. Nebraska's only win is over 0-5 now, Penn State, which lost to Iowa today. Nebraska's a bad football team. And look, this was the guy. I mean, if this guy can't turn it around, if this guy can't save it, who saves it in Lincoln? The natives are certainly getting restless. I think Scott Frost is definitely safe for next season. I don't see any scenario in which honestly, I think they just gave him a $10 million extension. I think I saw on Twitter like last year maybe for no apparent reason. I mean, I don't know who was trying to hire Scott Frost. I don't know that Scott Frost had done such a good job that was a necessity. But anyway, they did it. Well done, Nebraska, I guess. I think it's hilarious. Yeah, like you said, I mean, yeah, you're objective, but there are some things that you kind of like to see, and Nebraska being not very good is one that I have enjoyed seeing, and so have a whole lot of other people outside the state of Nebraska. I can promise you that, especially after the fit they pitched before the season. Hey, well done. I kind of enjoyed it. So we're going to turn our attention now, like I said, back to Mizzou, South Carolina. All the opt-outs, all the injuries, all the limited bodies, all that. So South Carolina, like we said, without 3 members of its starting secondary. Before that happened, South Carolina was, I can't quote you the exact numbers right now, but I can tell you, hang on, we just got a Mizzou roster update. Ryan Walters is in contact tracing. David Gibbs is going to be Missouri's defensive coordinator. Grant O'Brien is the 10th assistant. Here are players unavailable tonight for Missouri: J.J. Hester, Sean Robinson, Keon Willis, Adam Sparks, Stacy Brown, Johnny Walker, Ish Burdine, Boo Smith, Cy Martin, Dylan Spencer, Markel Utze. Those guys, 11 guys not available tonight. Well, I just said it. Said prefer names aren't out there, but whatever. Anyway, those guys are there's 11 guys not playing. Chad Bailey will play the entire game and serve his suspension at a later date. Markel Utze and Dylan Spencer will serve suspensions tonight and will be able to play the full game next game. Larry Borum, Xavier Delgado, Kobe Whiteside all made the trip. All are on emergency usage only, and 56 scholarship players made the trip for Missouri. So there's your update, guys. And I'm going to tweet that out real quick. Hang on. I can't type and talk at the same time. So 11 guys not available, and 56 players made the trip. So that's, sorry, like I said, I'm trying to do 2 things at once here, trying to type and trying to talk at the same time. So let me run through that again for you guys. Ryan Walters in contact tracing, David Gibbs, defensive coordinator, Grant O'Brien, Mizzou's 10th assistant. 11 players unavailable tonight. I'm just going to run through. Again, I don't want to list off that whole list. The only starter is Markel Utze, and then Dylan Spencer, if you would he would have been a starter tonight because Larry Borum, Xavier Delgado, and Kobe Whiteside are there but are on emergency duty only. So they have 56 scholarship players on the trip, 53 who are available. They do not have Sean Robinson in the backup quarterback. Look, we're not supposed to name names, but that's a thing, right? Connor Bazelak, if he were to get hurt or something to happen, I don't know. I guess they go Brady Cook. I mean, he can play. There's no red shirts this year. So a lot of interesting things there. Chad Bailey has pushed his suspension off. So he's going to be available to play tonight. So a lot of moving pieces for Missouri in this game. So we'll get to a couple of your questions. So, yeah, are the guys serving suspensions tonight available for the second half? So let's run through that again. Chad Bailey available all game. In this, Dylan Spencer and Markel Utze would be available for the second half tonight, but they are not available, period. So that obviously means there are COVID-related issues, whether that's contact tracing, positive test, we have no idea, but those guys are not available. So they are serving their suspension tonight, but also not playing in the second half. They will be able to play next week against Arkansas. Chad Bailey is not serving his suspension tonight. That will carry over to a later date. It may be next week against Arkansas, maybe some other time. And again, David Gibbs, the DC today with Ryan Walters being out due to contact tracing. No question there. We talked about that. So you've got that. That's that situation. On the South Carolina side, again, 3 of the starting 4 secondary players are out. Both cornerbacks, 1 safety. So Connor Bazelak. Could be a day for Connor Bazelak. We talked to Mizzou's starting quarterback earlier this week. We're going to let you guys hear that right now.
Connor, I was talking to some of your family members, and they said you were kind of a different type of person playing basketball rather than when you were playing football. And I was wondering how you would kind of describe yourself as a basketball player in high school or middle school.
During basketball, I was more animated. I'd say I'd get a lot more frustrated at myself.
All right. Here's what I need. I need somebody to comment. Were you guys hearing that Bazelak interview? Because I was not hearing it. So I need somebody to comment. If you guys are hearing it, I'm going to hit play again and let you listen to it. But I could not hear the audio on that. So I need to know that you guys can hear it before I go ahead and play the whole thing for you. And we have 15 minutes of absolutely nothing. So somebody please just in the comments, let me know if you could hear Connor Bazelak, couldn't hear Connor Bazelak, whatever. And we will, take care of that, certainly as we go along. Okay, you guys could hear it, so I'm going to go back to Connor Bazelak, and you guys can listen to that, and I'll be back afterwards.
Connor, I was talking to some of your family members, and they said you were kind of a different type of person playing basketball rather than when you were playing football. And I was wondering how you would kind of describe yourself as a basketball player in high school or middle school.
During basketball, I was more animated. I'd say I'd get a lot more frustrated at myself. And I was more emotional, I would say. I don't know why, but it was just kind of one of those things. Just in basketball, that's who I was. And then in football, I was different and just calm and poised.
Colin O'Brien, Jeff City News. You can go ahead, Colin.
Hey, Connor. Thanks for doing this. Hope you're well. What kind of things have you been doing in these 2 open dates you guys have had to maybe prevent rust from forming or just to stay sharp at the quarterback position?
Yeah, it's just continuing to get the timing down with the receivers, get fundamentals down with Coach Drink, continuing to grow on the playbook and grow with the offense, continuing to build leadership with the offense and offensive line, getting their trust and just continuing to build relationships with everybody else and stay tight.
Drinkwitz told us today that he's been having some guys kind of cross-train in practice to make up for low numbers. Has that affected the wide receiver groups at all, either them going out or other guys coming in?
No. I mean, we've got our guys, and they'll be ready to go. Just got to execute.
Dave Matterson with Post-Dispatch. Go ahead.
Hey, Connor, it's been a long time since you guys had that Florida game, but did you feel like that at all was kind of a step backwards for the offense, or just how did you feel like you guys did in that game?
I don't think it was a step backwards. I think we just didn't execute. We had chances to win the game. We had chances to score touchdowns, get points. We just didn't execute. And I mean, if we execute those like 5 plays, it would have been a whole different game, whole different story. So I don't think we took a step back. Obviously, there were plays in the second half when we were down that we got to fix, but I don't think we took a step backwards.
Ben Arnett, KLMU. Go ahead, Ben.
Connor, a couple of things. First, real quick, is this the longest layoff you've had in your career in between games, or have you had longer ones in your career?
Yes, between football games, yeah.
I mean, yep. when you've been the regular starter?
Yeah. I mean, even in high school it was normal every week. Obviously in this first year with COVID, and yeah, so long as between games that I've had just practicing and waiting to play the next game.
And during this layoff, you mentioned you're doing a lot of different things, but is there anything in particular, especially with the receivers, that you felt like has helped you stay sharp and that has been most effective?
I would say just continue, like going back and looking at the film from the past couple of weeks and looking at what we missed, what we did wrong, and then just correcting those things in practice. Just because we knew we had time to work on those things, and really focusing in on the details and with the wideouts and the quarterbacks.
Mitch 40, Power Mizzou. Go ahead, Mitch.
Connor, South Carolina announced a few opt-outs today, particularly in the secondary. Does that change anything about your game prep at all? Just having different guys that have been in for most of the season back there?
No, I mean it's really not about them. It's about us. If we execute, then we'll play well. I mean it's really just about us. I'm not too focused on who they've got back there. I mean, we play in the SEC. Everybody's going to be good, no matter who they have. So it's really just about us.
Gabe DeArmond, Power Mizzou. Go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah, Connor, I know you mentioned timing, but just as an entire offense, what specific aspects of things do you think is kind of the most difficult to maintain with this much time between games?
I think it's just the physical aspect of it. I mean, we haven't hit. I mean, the offensive line hasn't like blocked and had full contact in, I don't know, since the Florida game, over 15 days. So I think it's just kind of focusing in on that in practice, trying to get that situated. And I think that's the biggest thing is just physical, receivers blocking, running backs taking hits, me taking hits. It's just haven't had it in a while, but we didn't have it in the whole 9 months until Alabama. So, I mean, it's nothing new.
Jack Sobel from the Man-Eater, go ahead.
Connor, you mentioned you were kind of working on developing chemistry with the receivers. What kinds of things have needed to happen for you to kind of increase your chemistry with those receivers, especially with, rotating so many of them?
I think it's just watching film with them, trying to focus in on all the details in practice, do routes on air, and 7-on-7, just kind of focusing in on all the details, just so I know what they're doing, they know what I'm doing, and it really helps with our connection.
Bennett Durando, you're up.
Hey, Connor, this might be a bit of an offbeat question, but I was curious if what you've sort of heard about the Open Doors company that you guys are going to be working with, and just if you've interacted with anyone from them yet, and just what that partnership is going to be like from the athlete end of things.
So it's our agreement we made, kind of like influencer. They're just going to help us out on the social media side of things and like personal branding in imaging, that kind of stuff.
So this is the first time I'm hearing about it. But yeah, sounds good. I'm all for building my brand and personal brand, building the Mizzou brand personally and as a team. So it's great.
I've got another one then, just sort of building off the question from earlier. When was the angriest or maybe the most emotive that you ever got during a basketball game?
I mean, I would say I got better as I got older because I got more mature. But when I was younger, I would get real mad. I don't even know. I don't know. I was just me being competitive. I was just, when things didn't go my way, I would get upset and angry, and yeah, I don't know a specific time.
Suichi Terada, Kansas City Star, go ahead.
Connor, Eli talked about this last week, but sometimes when maybe the game kind of slips away, like the Florida game, you guys kind of lose balance between the pass and the rush. I guess from your perspective, how important is just to, be able to maybe not go off script and be a little pass happy and one dimensional and everything?
I think it's super important, whether it's running the ball to set up the pass or throwing to set up the run. You got to be able to do both. And when you get behind, like we did against Florida, it's hard to run the ball just because it wastes clock. You're trying to get chunk yards, big plays down the field. So it's really important, yeah.
Matt Baker, did you just go?
Yeah, I got another one if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Connor, I guess when you came back here, I know you came back for the facilities in like March because like they were just able to train here. But what was sort of the hardest part about being here at that time when everyone or when a lot of people were gone, and what kind of got you through those couple months?
The hardest part was just being here alone. I mean, there's nobody really here, like any of my friends. So it was just kind of same routine every day. Wake up, go to do rehab, and throw. I mean, there were some weeks where guys would be here and I would go throw with them. But it was just kind of on the mental side, just had to focus on what's important with my rehab, and still talk to my parents back home and my friends back home. And I don't know, it flew by, so I don't really remember it.
Dave Matter, go ahead, Dave.
Connor, what is it like as a player every day not really knowing if there's going to be a game at the end of the week? I mean, do you try to just ignore that stuff and everything just hinges on these test results? What's that like, every day to wake up and not necessarily know for sure?
Yeah, it's hard to not think about it just because you're trying to focus in on an opponent and prepare for an opponent. But at the same time, you don't know if you're really going to play that opponent or even play that week. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just about trusting the coaches, trusting the game plan, sticking to your routine, watching film. I mean, it really just comes down to having a routine and sticking to it.
Okay, we're going to finish up with the last three that are in the queue right now. Peter Ball's up first. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, Connor, I was curious, when you have an off week, either for something unplanned like the COVID week or a bye week, like, do you watch your next opponent live? Like, did you watch the South Carolina game as it was going on last week?
Yeah, I usually watch the games, whoever we play next, and watch it live. I mean, it's really hard the film we have here after is way better than what you watch on live TV, and you can get a way better look at what they're doing. So, I mean, you can see some stuff, but yeah.
Gotcha. What was kind of, I guess, the instant impressions of South Carolina's defense when you did see it for the first time?
I mean, I watched them earlier in the year. I don't know who they were playing. I mean, they're tough. They're physical. It's like physical defense. They're going to play hard. obviously their head coach just got fired, so they're gonna play with an edge, and we just got to come out early, play fast, start fast, and yeah.
Jack Sobel, man eater, go ahead.
Connor, you guys lost 2 fumbles against Florida with the strip sack at the end and the exchange between you and Beatty. How much has ball security been a point of emphasis over the last couple weeks on your end in particular?
Yeah, every single week we focus on ball security, but knowing that the fumble with me and Beatty was a big changing point in the game. We just can't have stuff like that. The fumble at the end was last drive, the game was over, but I still can't have that. I just got to protect it more. Just win the turnover battle every week and got a better chance to win then.
All right, and our last one will be from Lynn Harrington. Go ahead, Lynn.
All right, Connor. Last game against Florida, you guys were held scoreless in first and third quarter. How important is it for the offense to get off to a fast start against South Carolina?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's super important. With them, with Coach Muschamp being gone, they're going to come out with an edge, with a chip on their shoulder, and we just got to start fast, hit them early, and I think it's super important to get up early and get a lead and continue to execute.